it was like, wow, for Diddy, what? You know, that was a person that I looked up to. He was a mogul. So, and I listened to all the artists that he made superstars. And so to have a chance to be able to be signed to him, it was amazing. It was like, oh my God, I'm here. I finally did it.
For years, the world called Katt Williams crazy. We called him a mad prophet howling at the moon, a joke to be laughed at and then ignored the moment the curtain dropped. But here we are, watching courtroom feeds and breathless news tickers, and suddenly every word out of his mouth sounds less like comedy and more like a warning we were too comfortable to hear. Diddy, formerly the king of bad boy records, the architect of the party circuit, the self-made billionaire mogul, has become the poster child for Hollywood's nightmare underbelly. And we can't help but remember the way Katt used to stand on those smoky stages, peering out from behind a pair of oversized sunglasses, and tell us all about the deviants who were about to catch hell. Back then, it sounded like something between a punchline and a prophecy. Today, it feels like he was reading aloud from an indictment still sealed.
Possibly, you know, it's the federal government building a case against you. Maybe you would go for the lesser offer, but again, that would be having to admit that he did something wrong. And the defense has always maintained that he is innocent. He has done nothing wrong. That this is just, you know, these are just ex-girlfriends that are mad. Like just all these types of things that the defense is arguing. But again,
we all know Diddy's behind bars. The mugshots, the morning raids, the parade of high-powered attorneys. No one is surprised anymore. But what we're only now beginning to comprehend is the scale. It's not just Diddy. Not just a few bad nights or one unlucky investigation. There are dozens of accomplices, still at large, names whispered on industry flights and penthouse elevators. The stories pour out in the shadow of the trial, painting the kind of picture that makes every golden statue in Hollywood look a little more like an accessory to a crime. And at the center of it all is the Mansion of Secrets, the now infamous home where stars were born and careers were broken, because everything, apparently, was caught on tape. Inside those walls, according to federal filings and terrified witnesses, the real parties started long after the red carpet photos were snapped. We heard about the so-called freak-offs before, but the details now leak out with all the subtlety of a burst pipe. The hotel suites, the hidden cameras, the bottles of baby oil by the thousand. Katt Williams roasted that Costco excuse right there on stage, then tossed it in the trash where it belonged. Investigators say the real secret ingredient was whatever was laced into those massages. Substances mixed with the baby oil so guests would think they were getting pampered and end up barely able to get off the table. And as Katt once hinted, the only thing more dangerous than the activities was who was in the room watching and what they might do with the footage afterwards.
Right, Jay-Z and Beyonce being, you know, two of the other 15 people in the room. So that'll just put into perspective of the type of company I was in.
Right. We know now that the Mansion of Secrets was more than just a fancy nickname. That was the home base for a network of control, one that ran on favors, blackmail, and the kind of footage that could end a career, a marriage, or even a life. Former bodyguards, assistants, drivers, each of them under cross-examination starts by denying, then falters when pressed. Just look at Gene Deal, Diddy's ex-bodyguard, ducking questions outside the courthouse, then allegedly getting physical with the YouTuber who pushed a little too hard. The street knows what silence sounds like. Deal never answered the question about what happened with minors at those infamous parties. We watched him drop his head, eyes on the pavement, a million miles from the bravado of a man who used to run security for hip-hop's biggest star. Meanwhile, the courtroom itself is a circus with an edge of menace. Diddy's ex-girlfriends, Cassie Ventura, Jane Doe, Dawn Richard, all take the stand with stories that echo one another in their horror. Cassie's account in particular hits the jury like a punch. The hotel nights, the controlling phone calls, the secret threats to release explicit footage if she ever dared to walk away. A security camera catches Diddy assaulting her at a hotel, and suddenly the world can't pretend it didn't happen. Cassie tells the jury she was forced into freak-offs with everything choreographed, filmed, and stored away somewhere. And when she finally filed suit, Diddy paid her off in record time. If that sounds like the actions of an innocent man, then Hollywood has a different definition of innocence than the rest of us.
They needed to show that there was an agreement, that the organization knew what it was doing, that it was an enterprise, not in law, but in fact, that people understood the object of the enterprise, which was to promote Sean Combs and his brands and sort of fulfill any deviant desires he may have had, and then to cover up any crimes committed over the course of fulfilling the desires.
And it's not just the partners and exes either. Diddy's own assistants describe elaborate routines to book hotel rooms, buy supplies, arrange for guests who had no idea what they were really walking into. One woman's testimony about recurring infections, injuries, and requests for piercings because that's what he wanted from his girl. Well, you can see why prosecutors are calling it organized abuse, not just a wild lifestyle gone a little too far. Some in the gallery call it a criminal enterprise. Some just call it business as usual, and that might be the scariest part of all. But let's not pretend Diddy was working alone. That's where Katt Williams' snitching prophecy is picking up real steam. On social media, people laugh at the memes, but behind the humor, there's a cold calculation. Diddy's going down, and if he can drag half the industry with him, he will. One Instagram user summed up the feeling. I definitely think Diddy's going to tell on every last person in and out of the industry. Just wait and see. That's not just wishful thinking from outsiders either. It's the real fear among those who built their careers one room over from the madness. Diddy's so-called friends are sweating more than his enemies because they know the guest lists and camera angles just as well as he does.
See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Kid, I need another one. You here, get your number.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Which brings us, inevitably, to the question everyone's afraid to ask out loud. Who else was in on it? Who benefited, who turned a blind eye, and who made sure the right people stayed famous or quietly disappeared? Katt Williams has never been shy about naming names, and one of the biggest names he's ever thrown out is Oprah. For decades, Oprah's image has been so spotless it practically squeaks. But according to Katt, she's not just a talk show host. She's a gatekeeper, someone who decides which stories get told, which artists get lifted up, and which ones get left out in the cold. It's not just Katt either. The industry is suddenly full of voices calling Oprah's legacy into question. Rapper 50 Cent has his own long-standing beef with her, accusing Oprah of shutting him out and condemning his lyrics while building her empire on the suffering and drama of others. In his words, she was completely against everything that was in my music, so she ain't never gonna have me on that show. But what used to sound like petty rivalry now has a sharper edge. As other voices pile on, Seal's public accusation that Oprah knew about Harvey Weinstein's behavior for decades. Rose McGowan's claim that Oprah is as fake as they come, supporting a sick system for personal gain. The allegations stack up like a game of Jenga after a bad night out. One more piece pulled and the whole thing could topple.
I'm one of the chosen high-ranked, know the dirt individuals, right? And so dirt responds as they should when the vacuum walks in.
Nah, you come on. Are you a rapper? You rap on the side?
And now, the rumor mill is churning at full speed. The internet is obsessed with the idea that Oprah was somehow connected, directly or indirectly, to both the Weinstein and Epstein networks. There's no smoking gun yet, but the photos and sound bites get circulated anyway. People don't forget that Oprah once promoted the miracle healer John of God, who was later convicted of unspeakable crimes in Brazil. And every time Oprah releases a statement expressing shock or heartbreak, another old photo goes viral, or another video clip gets passed around like a modern-day game of telephone. Suddenly, her reputation as Hollywood's queen of empathy looks like it was built on a foundation of plausible deniability. Of course, the allegations are still just that, rumors, accusations, old feuds, and whispers carried by insiders who won't go on the record or people with axes to grind. But as we watch the walls close in on Diddy and listen to the tape of Katt Williams calling his shot, we have to wonder, how many of Hollywood's biggest stars are actually puppets? And who's holding the strings? Was Oprah really a bystander or something much more involved? Was she just unlucky enough to share a photo op with the wrong people, or was she the one quietly deciding who got to play and who got locked out?
I'll tell you, I don't know how much, I don't like to say things that I know unless I see it. That there's a little difference, you know. But was it discussed? Was there descriptions from people I know that were at those? Yes, but here's another thing. So how many of these big entertainment parties and over the years and everything, with as successful as you are, have you been around? Does anyone ever come up to you at a certain hour and say, okay, it's time to go? At those parties, they did.
Even Dave's name pops up in the digital trenches. Did he ever call Oprah a handler for the Hollywood elites? Or is that just another YouTube headline with nothing behind it? Fans latch onto a single sentence, a half-remembered interview, then fill in the rest with what they wish someone would say. But it doesn't matter if there's a direct quote or not, the damage is done by the speculation itself. The suggestion alone is enough to make people look twice at the photos, the guest lists, the sudden career implosions. At the end of the day, we're left staring at a city that's always run on secrets and wondering just how deep the rabbit hole really goes. Diddy may be the one in the orange jumpsuit, but if Katt Williams is right, he's just the tip of the iceberg, and the current is dragging a lot of familiar faces down with him. Now the whispers in back rooms are getting louder, and nobody wants to be the next name on the list. We're not talking about a handful of hangers-on. What we're hearing is an all-out scramble, a panic that starts at the top and trickles down to anyone who's ever accepted an invite, signed a contract, or just looked the other way. As Diddy sits in the special housing unit of that New York detention center, every Hollywood power player is calculating just how much they left exposed over the years. No one wants to believe they could be vulnerable, but the threat is right there in the air. Diddy isn't going quietly, and if the deal's good enough, he just might decide to take the entire system down with him. Insiders say the negotiations have already started. Prosecutors know that if Diddy decides to cooperate, the dominoes could fall all the way, from late-night party hosts to high-rise executives. It's the classic snitch effect. The moment one domino tips, the others scramble to save themselves, flipping on each other just to keep their names out of the headlines. We've all seen it before in smaller scandals, but nothing on this scale. Now, with federal investigators running the show, the stakes are orders of magnitude higher. Multiple sources with knowledge of the talks insist that prosecutors are quietly lining up immunity deals and subpoenas, preparing for a bloodletting the industry hasn't seen in decades. Who's sweating the most? The list of possible names is longer than a Grammy guest list. Music moguls, studio chiefs, A-list actors, managers, producers, even influencers who built empires on party invites and blurry connections. A former road manager claims there's a whole black book circulating among attorneys, cataloging potential witnesses and targets. While 3 industry veterans insist that more than a dozen major deals have quietly fallen apart in the past 2 months, with investors suddenly spooked by the risk of public fallout. If you see a celebrity suddenly taking a social media break or a headline star skipping out on red carpets, chances are their team is working overtime to keep their client's name out of the next batch of federal filings.
All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong.
And if anyone doubts the panic, just look at the creative moves already in play. Diddy's own son Christian, now calling himself King Combs, dropped a song with Ye, making it crystal clear whose side he's on. The lyrics, "Ain't going to sleep till we see Diddy free," are less about music and more about sending a message. Loyalty in public, but behind the scenes, everybody is looking over their shoulder. Even Ye, who once played the industry's rebel, showed up at the courthouse. And though he didn't step inside, his presence was enough to get tongues wagging. Of course, for every star who posts a vague inspirational quote or cryptic emoji, there's someone else getting grilled in court or by the press. We're already seeing the blame game ramp up, with lawyers for one executive suggesting their client was never aware of what happened behind closed doors, and multiple assistants lawyering up before giving interviews. Nobody's talking on the record? Not yet, but the message is clear. In the age of surveillance footage, deleted texts aren't enough to make a problem go away.
I want to start with alleged victim number 4, who goes by the name Mia. It's an alias. She is one of the people who is testifying where the judge has granted her anonymity. She is on the stand, but everybody in the courtroom has been warned. Do not reveal her identity. Do not even give a physical description.
As this legal maelstrom churns, Katt Williams sits on the sidelines looking more like a soothsayer than ever. He predicted this fallout with such eerie precision that even his harshest critics are now revisiting those paranoid stand-up sets and treating them like gospel. We keep asking ourselves, how did Katt see it coming? Was it just streetwise intuition? Or did he have a direct pipeline into the machinery of Hollywood? And back in January, he was already telling Shannon Sharp that he turned down tens of millions just to keep his distance. Because P. Diddy be wanting the party, and you gotta tell him no. You gotta tell him no. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you, Katt boasted, and the crowd thought it was a joke. Now, we realize it was a warning. Katt has long insisted that Hollywood isn't just about movies and music. It's a spiritual system where favors aren't free and everyone pays a price. Some dismiss it as conspiracy talk, but with every passing day of this trial, the pattern starts looking less like a coincidence and more like a roadmap. He's dropped hints about systems and secret societies, about artists who vanish after falling out of favor, about shadowy figures who seem to orchestrate careers from the darkness. Even his references to rejected party invitations now play like encrypted confessions, breadcrumbs leading back to a wider, unseen network. We can't ignore the way Katt's status is changing in real time. Once blackballed, now back in the conversation, he's suddenly the only one with the guts to say what others just whisper. His timeline of predictions, 2024, as the year the deviants catch hell. The rise of receipts and evidence finally seeing daylight matches reality with a precision that would make Nostradamus raise an eyebrow. Every headline that drops, every star that gets subpoenaed, only pushes his Hollywood prophet persona closer to legend. Maybe he's the canary in the coal mine, or maybe he's been holding the industry's playbook all along.
I thought he was this clean businessman who rise to the top because he was such a powerful and smart, educated man. I had no idea that he had this other side to him. And when I started to get exposed to his lifestyle, I started to really realize, like, this guy has an addiction. It's not just once every few weeks. It's every day, every hour.
The cosmic angle can't be ignored either. For all his humor, Katt's worldview leans mystical. He talks about cycles, energies, even reckonings for those who've hidden their sins behind charity galas and movie premieres. Some fans joke that he's reading the stars. Others claim he's got informants in every studio. The truth? Probably a cocktail of intuition, experience, and a whole lot of people willing to spill secrets once the spotlight turns away from them. Either way, the result is the same. Hollywood's aura is cracking, and Katt is a man holding up the mirror. As the city's red carpets are replaced with courthouse sketches, the mood has shifted from denial to desperation. The old systems of hush money and non-disclosure deals aren't cutting it anymore. Lawyers know they're fighting a losing battle, and the next phase could see a parade of high-profile snitches trying to cut their own deals before the hammer falls. That's the real terror for Hollywood's elite, not just facing consequences but being outed by their own. Industry veterans are already whispering about private jet logs, offshore payments, and hidden files. If even half the rumors are true, we're about to witness the collapse of a network that's run unchecked for decades.
Said, I suppose it could be coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence, and especially given the nature of the case.
Yes.
Because when you look at who is examining these various witnesses, especially female alleged victims, of which there will be 4.
Yet, amid all the chaos, the most chilling question remains. How many more prophets have we ignored? For every Katt Williams, how many others were blackballed, smeared, or quietly erased for getting too close to the truth? Was Dave trying to warn us, too, with his famous walkout and cryptic interviews? Is it just a coincidence that those who buck the system are always the ones who disappear for mental health breaks or creative differences? Maybe this really is the year when Hollywood's karma comes due, with Katt as the unexpected harbinger? So as we watch the world's most famous city trade designer sunglasses for prison jumpsuits, one thing is impossible to deny. The era of untouchable stardom is ending. The dominoes are lined up, and all it takes is one more snitch to send them crashing down. The power players are huddling behind their lawyers and PR teams, hoping the storm will pass. But if Katt Williams has his way, there will be nowhere left to hide and no secret safe from the light. And that leaves us with one haunting thought. As more secrets come to light and Hollywood's powerful scramble for cover, will Katt Williams' truth finally force the entire industry to reckon with itself? Or is this just the first act in a much darker drama? Drop your wildest theories and hottest takes below, because this story is far from over. Stay tuned, keep your eyes open, and remember, in Hollywood, the truth is always stranger than fiction. Until next time, stay curious and don't let the red carpet fool you.